Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kellie's Bead Boutique. So I've been making and teaching how to make jewelry for a very long time. And one of the comments that I always hear is, you make it look so easy. Well, I think it is, and I want to show you just how easy it can be. So I'm going to take some simple parts and some simple techniques and put them together and teach you how to make your very own jewelry. If you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. Okay, so to make our piece today, we have some chain. I also have about 8 inches of 3mm leather. I have about 10 inches of 1.5mm leather. I have a nice big pearl that has the large drill hole in it. I have one of Tierra Cast's beautiful heart pendants, and I have one of their pinch bails. I have a couple of these 3mm cord ends that you can crimp in the middle. I have a lobster clasp, a soldered ring, and some jump rings. And for tools, we're going to be using a barrel knot tool. I also have a pair of chain nose pliers and bent chain nose pliers. Now, one of the questions I get asked most is, do we sell these in the store? And yes, we do. So just go to my store, which is www.kellysbeadboutique.com. Make sure you spell Kelly with an IE. And then in the search bar, just type in the word barrel, and you'll get a bunch of different things, but you can scroll down until you find these barrel knots, and they're $1 and you can buy these. But if you do buy a kit, you'll always get a barrel knot tube with it if it needs it. And this one does, so if you buy the kit, you'll get the barrel knot tube. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a little barrel knot for our pearl. So what I want to do is I want to take my leather and I'm going to fold it over about, I don't know, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I'm just going to move some of these tools out of the way. And then I'm going to take my barrel knot tube and I'm going to place it in between the leathers. So I'm going to have my longer one on top and my shorter one on the bottom. And I want to create just a small loop at the top. So I'm going to create it like normal, just where I take my top one and I come towards me and go around 3 times. So there's once, twice, 3 times. And you can see that I've done my loops really nice and neat and nice and tight together. And I always maintain control of this. I find when you don't hold on to your barrel knots is when you're going to have some troubles. So grab hold of that, take the end, put it through the back side of the tube, and once it comes out, then you're going to grab the tube, and you can see that I'm still holding on to my leather. So now what I want to do is just kind of pull that tight until I have a loop. Now I don't want a super huge loop on this, so I'm going to just pull down a little bit. That's about the size of the loop that I want. So now I'm going to start tightening up with the one that I was using to do my wrapping. I often get that question like, well, which one am I pulling on? Well, sometimes you have to pull on both of them to get it exactly where you want, but you're going to be using your longer one to do the tightening up. So I'm just going to kind of get it into place, and sometimes you can see me rolling it a little bit, and that's just to sort of get it into a nicer shape, because sometimes the leather will roll and it will want to kind of buckle up. So I find by sort of twisting it in my fingers, it'll create the look that I want. So get that nice and snug, and then I'm going to take some cutters or scissors if you happen to have any, and we're going to just isolate that long one so that we don't cut it, and we're going to clip that one off nice and short. Now I'm going to take my pearl and I'm going to put that on, and we're going to get it up nice and close there, and I'm going to create another barrel knot. And this one's only going to have 2, so I'm going to go once and twice, and then take that and pop it through the end. Now we do give you lots of leather for this because it's hard to do barrel knots with only just a little tiny piece of leather. You'll find that you'll just get super frustrated trying to get it in the back of the tube. So it does make it a little bit easier to have a little bit more leather. And you can see I'm just using my nails to push that up against the pearl. I want that fairly tight, and then I'm going to give that a little trim. Now I don't happen to have any with me right now, but you could take a little bit, and I probably would take a little bit of GS Hypo and just pop it right there where you see that little crossover there. Just put a little dab there, and that will make that nice and secure, but this shouldn't go anywhere. So there's our little dangle. Okay, so now we're going to create the next part of the dangle. So what I find with barrel knots is that what I call a good side and a bad side. So to me, this is the good side. And if you turn it around, you can see it kind of has a little bit of a dip there. And I don't like that look as much. So that's the side that I'm going to use. And so I want to pop that good side to the top, and I'm going to place it through our pinch bail. And then I'm going to take our little heart pendant, and I'm going to put that through the pinch bail. And then now you can just literally close this with your fingers. If your fingers aren't strong enough, you could use pliers, but I do find that they could leave a little bit of a mark on there. So if you are going to use them, you want to be very careful and just kind of, gently sort of maneuver that into position. You could also use a pair of nylon jaw pliers, and they won't mark anything up. But this is what we're going for right now, is we want to have that pearl just dangling off the front of our heart like that. So now I'm going to complete the next part of the necklace. So you'll see with this leather that it has a nice drape to it, and it naturally goes in the form that we want it right around our neck, which is perfect. So when we put these crimp ends on, we want to make sure that they're going in the right direction. Now sometimes they can be a little difficult to get on, so you sort of have to twist them on, but they will eventually go. So what I want to see is in this direction. If they were this way, when you put it on, it's going to twist your chain because this chain lays flat on our neck, so I want to make sure that they're both going this way. So before I get to crimping, I'm going to put them both on, make sure they're both in the right position, and so I just get them so that the leather's just barely sort of popping out there. So that's exactly what I want. Just make sure that you can kind of tweak it before you do it. Product of moving. I've been packing boxes like crazy and I'm scratching the heck out of myself, but we're almost done. Okay, so I'm exhausted today because of all the packing yesterday, so hopefully I'm making sense today. Okay, so I want to make sure that that leather isn't poking out there, and now you can see that there's 3 sections on here. I've got 2 that have X's and 1 in the middle that doesn't. It's the one in the middle that we're going to squish. So I'm going to take the end of my pliers and I want to squish there. And then I'm going to turn it over and then give it another good one. And you can do that like maybe once or twice on each side, and that's all you need. And now we're going to go on the other side and just make sure that's right in the right direction. Once you get these crimped, you really can't move them a lot. I tried to take a couple off, but they really don't come off very well, which is awesome. We don't want them to come off. Okay, so that's what we've got happening now. So now before I put the next part of the necklace together, I'm going to take that leather and I'm going to slip it through my bail. So now we've got this happening. Okay, so you're going to get some chain in your kit if you purchase one, and we're going to do our very best to make sure that you can have 2 equal parts. So I'm going to have my girls cut it so that you get 2 like this. So what you want to do, like you can see that these 2 aren't exactly the same. So they look very close, but if you look at the ends, that one's a larger end and this one is a smaller end. And I've already pre-cut this. So I'm going to swap that around because I want to make sure that they're identical. Now, honestly, nobody's probably going to notice if you do it the other way, but I just like to make sure that everything looks kind of the way it should. So now I'm just going to decide which end I'm going to attach to my necklace, and it doesn't really matter, but I think I'm going to go with this end. So I want to take my pliers and I'm going to take a jump ring and I'm going to open that up, get my bent chain nose. So we always want to put the flat part on one side so you have a good grip on it. Open that up, run it through the crimp end, and then I'm going to take my chain and put that through there, and now close it up nice and tight. And sometimes you sort of have to jiggle it back and forth. Now I'm going to take another one and repeat on the other side. So run that through the end, take my chain. Now this is also the area where you would decide whether or not you need to cut some off, because this will all come one certain length, but you could make it a little bit shorter if you wanted. So now to finish it off, one of the things that I like to do is if I'm right hand dominant, I want to make sure that I put my lobster clasp on right handed. So I'm going to turn this around so that my pendant would be out in front like this. And that way I know that this is going to be in my right hand. So I am going to take one of my jump rings and open that up. And I'm going to run that through the end there of that last piece of the chain, and I'm going to put my lobster clasp on. And then just tighten that up. And then I'm going to repeat on the other side, but on this one I'm going to take a small jump ring, and then I've got a larger closed ring. Now some people would say, well, why don't you just use that chain? Well, one, I find it doesn't look completed. Once I add this larger closed ring, I find that it gives it a much more sort of professional look. You see how nice that looks? And it's so much easier to do up when you've got this to do up versus having to try and find that little end and get it in there, and they're thick, so it makes it really difficult. So I find that finishing off your jewelry makes all the difference. So I'm going to show you what this looks like on a mannequin, and it looks so much nicer when it's hanging than it does on the flat surface here. So I'll be right back. So there you go, there's the completed necklace. Of course, this one's a different color than the one that I was working on in the video. This will be available in kit form, and you'll have the choice of 3 different colors of leather. To access the kits, you just go down into the description box below the video and click the link that takes you to my fully secure website. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. I think this one is so adorable on, and it would look great with just a simple pair of jeans and a t-shirt. And the girls in the store were calling it the date night necklace because it just looks like something you'd throw on and go out on a date. So if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment because I like to hear from everybody. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure that you do so. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.